Peace! What up? It's MC Shawn Love, also known as Self Savior. And today we're here to talk a little bit about MC Serch has got a new album out. Then why the fuck we listening to Tony D? Don't Fall for the Gas Line. That was off of Tony D's debut album on 4th and Broadway, which was also called Droppin' Funky Verses. And he said Tony D, aka Harvey Wallbanger, which came out right after the very successful Poor Righteous Teachers' Holy Intellect, first album on Profile Records that Tony D produced most of, or parts of, or whatever you want to say. Peace be upon him. I've got much love for Tony D. And that's not who I'm here to talk to about today. I'm here to talk about MC Serch, and MC Serch has got a brand new album out. I wasn't supposed to curse in the beginning there. You gotta understand, there's a big guy with me, no homo, that's kind of always around, and it's the Massive. And the Massive helps edit, do everything, with me, collaborating with me on my channel, my music videos, and various other artistic endeavors, and even sometimes participates in some of the high scores stuff in the new channel I've got, which is experiments with medium explosives. And medium explosives, you can find me on YouTube. That's why I'm moving my builds over there, so there's no crunch of the two. Anyway, here to talk about MC Serch, not Tony D. The reason I played that, though, is that was a diss to MC Serch and Third Base, the Gas Face, circa 1990, 91. Because at the end of Gas Face, I don't know if you remember, and that's where Serch came through. And by the way, we're going to talk about Serch's new album, right? It's called Millions of Zeros. We're going to get to that. I'm smoking a premium cigar. I'm relaxing. I'm enjoying myself. So you can skip forward about 5, 6, 7 minutes if you want to get straight down to business on Serch's new album. I want to talk till then, because Serch is an important figure in hip hop. And I'm even rocking my Third Base shirt here today, right? Because Serch had a lot of personal influence on me because he's a Jew in hip hop. And although I teach my kids primarily things like Supreme Mathematics, Supreme Alphabet, etc., you can see on the wall, I also teach them what? Hebrew, right? You see it occupies a smaller space, but it still occupies a big place in our hearts, our ethnic background and origin. And when I saw Serch came out, I was a young kid, man. I got pictures of me prior to knowing about Serch. You'll see how my hair looks there. And then I got pictures of me after finding out about Serch. You see how my hair looks there. Anyway, MC Serch kind of came out of New York, Brooklyn, with Pete Nice on their first Def Jam album, and the first one that we all heard, right, was Step Into the AM, not Gas Face. Gas Face came along, as you remember, Zev Love X, which later led to the KMD album, the original one, right? And then later, it led to, after Mr. Hood, it led to this album, which, had all kinds of controversies associated with it for a variety of different reasons. Many years later, he comes back as MF Doom, and, the rest is history, right? And rest in peace to him, too. It seems like we're saying that all the time about people. Remembered in perfection, MF Doom, remembered in perfection, Tony D, who was a good friend of mine. Tony D and I linked up in the 90s, after he had already been through the cycle with PRT and produced Boulevard Mossy and Suicide Posse and Almighty and KD. And I could go on for a long, Muckman, I could go on for a long time about all the Trenton artists and other Jersey artists, King Son and others who he produced. And all the stuff he did before that, like with the Tough Crew and the work that he did with Jazzy J. Everybody knows about Tony D's plethora of, influence over hip-hop production. And if you don't, you should. Anyway, he heard Tony Dick in the Gas Face, right? They say that at the end of that song. Go back and watch the video, right? And, this was an interesting time because Serch, who was, is a Jew, also spent a lot of time around people that had knowledge of self. And it's obvious in his Gas Face verse. It was the first time, like, a non-black artist, right? Somebody you would call white, would came out and say, bad guys wear black. Must have been a white guy who started all that. Make the gas face for those little white lies. Mountainous blue eyes. He's kicking knowledge in there, and he's one of the first dudes that look like him to ever even utter anything like that. Tony D did something later in, if you look up Crusaders for Real Hip Hop Deja Vu is 92. He had a song called That's How It Is, where Milk D is in the chorus, actually, and he's in the chorus audibly, but he's also in the fucking video, right? And That's How It Is, Tony also addresses that racial matter. Nobody wants to hear this, but if you think about the early hip hop guys that you call white, you're dealing with 3 Jewish guys, and I don't care what anybody tells me, everybody, no exceptions, fucking loved this album when it came out. Everybody loved Paul Revere. Everybody loved, I mean, there's a whole list of songs on here that are, you know, undeniably dope hip hop tracks, produced by another Jew, Rick Rubin. But the Jew we're talking about today is MC Serch. It's a sensitive topic when it comes to Jews and hip hop, especially because some of that area is populated by music executives, you know, who in many cases have had a history of being seen as people that took advantage of artists, right? And there was a time early in hip hop, you know, we're talking like 79 all the way up to the late 80s, where people were getting their asses handed to them with contracts. And the people that I was rubbing shoulders with, they have some, you know, in the late 90s, you know, they have in the record company businesses have undeniably Jewish names. Glickman, Schwartz. Glickman, by the way, is a cool cat. But being Jewish never fucking helped me. And I could rap my ass off then. And if you look at some of my current day 2026, 2025, 2027 upcoming material, I could still rap my ass off. It was never a plus. It was always a minus, right? So if everybody thinks I'm a test case for that being a helpful characteristic for an artist in the music industry to get on, didn't happen for me, right? That's why I'm on YouTube in my schoolhouse shed at 49. In any case, Serch, when that first record hit, and I keep saying Serch because although Pete Nice could rap, Serch was the guy who attracted. He had the most magnetic, right? People had good things to say about him in business. The OC, he's kind of responsible for, you know, bringing Nas to fruition, right, in his first contracts. People have bad things to say about him. But what I'm talking about here is his artistry, right? And, you know, those first couple of joints that he came out with, those first couple singles. I remember the Cactus album even had a remix version of it with like some of the best tracks, and they were all redone and rehashed. They didn't sound as good to me as the original Cactus album. But that album was so big that they had another version of it out there back in the day when the only thing you could do is buy a cassette or a vinyl, right? You look it up, the Cactus had like a remix EP that came out later. So you think about how they came along with that one album, it hit hard, and then they came back with another album, right, with the Pop Goes the Weasel single on it, which was kind of shitting on Vanilla Ice at the time, right? I see some interviews with Vanilla Ice. Everybody in my era thought he was corny as hell. Him and MC Hammer and the others. I don't care what retro filter you put on these things. Everybody thought that shit was corny. And if you were there in the mid to late 80s and early 90s, the word commercial or commercial rap was like a bad word. I know people chase the bag now, but back in the day, you know, not being commercial was like the largest, brightest feather you could put in your cap. So these guys did some great music. Serch goes off to do like a solo album, right? And then after that, there's kind of crickets for decades, right? And now MC Serch is back again with a EP that was quietly released. And on YouTube, it's been out a few weeks and you're still looking at numbers like 500-600 views, which to me is absolutely criminal. I do not put Serch up as a spitter in the same category that I put up those other folks that I always mention, like the Rakims, the Slick Ricks, the Big Daddy Kanes, the Cool G Raps, the Brother Jays from X-Clan. To me, these are top tier, like S-tier spitters, right? I put Serch up there in that B-level area, at times an A-level area, at times a C-level area, but a solid B. And these things are really important to think about when you're wondering how is a guy like Serch come into existence, who came on the scene with some level of knowledge, right? And trying to exist in the hip-hop climate with the spirit of respect rather than demanding his inclusion. He comes in with a spirit of respect for black folks, right? At least as an artist, right? And, he's got stories about all kinds of early era things like Latin quarters, things that were going on when I was 10, 11, 12 years old. So you listen to him now, decades later, and you wonder, what's the meaning of this? Why is he dropping something new? And is it any damn good at all? And I'm not going to listen to the whole thing because I got a big guy, whether you see him or not, who's telling me that I can't play more than like 4 seconds of a song. Otherwise, it makes something wrong with my YouTube video. So I'm just going to believe him. First song. You know how I feel. River running free. You know how I feel. Feeling Good. Obviously, there's many versions of that song that have been covered over the years, and we know most acutely with RZA. He opens up his album Birth of a Prince with it.
Peaceful and spiteful, so rightfully so, but with age comes wisdom and that turns to growth. So I owe you more than you could possibly owe me. Hip-hop saved my life and you saved me, so I appreciate the love, the pound and the hug, the fact that we're still living on shit. Ain't nothing better, try to find a good love. Thanks, Serch. I'm just trying to save you time. The one commodity you never get back, so don't waste mine, and I won't waste yours. Thanks, Serch. For what, the music and the tours, the fact that third base is back together for Nuva for
okay. Would have been better if it was timed with like 97.
Shit, truth is, I would have done it all for free. Now fuck that, I did it for G's, for houses with trees, for acres and jet skis, for private schools and infinity pools.
Little drum rolls in there. Hey, I can get down with that. It sounds like natural, like he's just, it's just coming off natural. I'm gonna listen to that again. And I don't like being this up 2 weeks and 558 views. Your fucking Father MC dropped now. I would listen to the shit 600 times just because.
Grab this bag and stash it in the rental. Give it to my mentor, John at the jewelry store. He told me to save one, got a family to save for. It's me, my seeds, I'm never out for self. I'm about these clams to keep coming out these shells. Fake fans say it won't be insensible. It's not the strong survives, it's the flexible.
It seems like he did this quick. And that's no diss. It seems like he didn't sit there and, agonize over, what his new coming was going to be. But he just threw some shit out. It sounds like he can still flow. And it sounds like he's aiming towards a mature voice, right? A lot less jokes, a lot less, razzmatazz, a lot less boisterousness. And more of a mature message. Let's hear Air It Out. That's the third track.
You cannot call off the search.
Yeah. Had to air out the room, caught the gas face. Ass shaking at a pace, need a back brace. Since the days of fat caps and fat lace, I had them out like roaches and ashtrays. Cash makes my life stupendous, stupid. Should've swung for the fences. Shout out to all my men's and my mentions. I name them, but there's too many to mention. What? Spare you a few?
In case you didn't catch that, mensch is the Jewish or Yiddish way of saying like a excellent guy. A person of high moral standing and character. Somebody who you've got a lot of respect for.
Like you don't care. We air it out. Throw your guns in the air. We air it out.
I don't love it, but I'm glad he made it. And I've got to listen to it some more before I give it my my full evaluation. But it's not really him. I'm just, some of the beats are sometimes not rubbing me the right way. So.
I just wanted to know, man, how you survived 30 plus years in this.
Okay, somebody talking to Serch. He's asking.
Holy, that's the easy one. Never been a breezy cat. Standing on business before they's even saying that. I took care of you the way I took care of Nas. Make sure I cross my T's and dot my I's. Make sure that I said.
See, and he says I took care of Nas, and I believe that because I remember reading about the dealings that Nas was going through when he was a teenager, and Serch trying to point him in the right direction. But I heard it from Serch's perspective. I also remember in Nas is one of his most recent albums, maybe not his most recent, but one of his most recent albums, him saying, peace to MC Serch, how much the catalog worth. And then he's saying, he made it so many people could earn, make money off what he earned, pushed it to the max. That means maximum returns. So what Nas was saying there, for anybody who missed it, is that not only did these people have a stake in what he's done, but they have a stake in his continued popularity and people going back and bringing the value back to those old releases that they have a stake in. And MC Serch apparently, at least at that time, was a stakeholder in one of his early releases, maybe more, and the business side is not the thing that fascinates me about this. Yet I wonder if that relationship is strained or not. It sounds like it's not.
What I mean what I say, that you didn't get jerked like I did back in the day. The advance from Def Jam, less than that Rolex on your wrist. The value is greater than the bag because without it there's no third base, no album, no plaques. In fact, we only would have met if wifey wanted that in brown or black. Selling shoes at Neiman's, stealing my Nova Uber food delivering, shivering at what it would have been like if hip hop didn't save my life. You the first rapper signed a searchlight, non-scientist schematics, illmatic. It was written word, life, and non-fiction. So proud of you, Bodie James. I love you, King. My phone is always on. You can ask me anything. Questions in my mind.
Anybody knows me knows I really do prefer this kind of production. And the reason I'm not going as hard on this as I say would on a Rakim or an Inspector Deck, because like I said, they're in that S tier, right? MC Serch relevance has a lot to do with culture in a moment in hip hop. So I'm not placing the same baggage on him as I am on, say, a Nas or a Rakim. Do I want to listen to it? I'll definitely take one joint off this and throw it in the rotation. I'm glad to see him back with something. I think it's about 30 years, 20 years too late. It's clear to me, though, that this project is not to try to dive back into the game and, you know, try to turn himself into something that he's not. You know, Serch is legendary for his moment and legendary for the seeds that he planted in the business. So do I mind hearing his perspective over listenable beats? No, not at all. I like it better than the Buckshot album. And I love Buckshot. I love Duck Down. I love Shawn Price. I love Helter Skelter. I love Boot Camp. I love all them. But the new Buckshot album, you know, I didn't feel it any more than I feel this, right? It didn't really move me any more than this. All right, he's got one more shot at it. This one's only got 260 views. That's fucking ridiculous. That's fucking ridiculous. Sorry, every time I say the F word, that big guy that decided.
So we won't shut off the searchlight.
Pause.
For my brothers, EPMD, the OG, the OC, if you know, you know. Yo, this has been an amazing.
Please listen to my demo, huh?
Making this EP with apathy, it just felt right, you know? I love OC, and that's word life. Get your hands up, your mind right. Word to Searchlight. I love OC, and that's word life.
Sounds like he's freestyling.
Mind right. Word to Searchlight. I love OC, and that's word life. Get your hands up, your mind right. Word to Searchlight.
He's still loose, man.
I love OC, and that's word life. Get your hands up, your mind right. Thank you for your ears and spending your days. The years turn to decades, and you ain't never strayed. So I want to set a few things straight, okay? Just before you skate, stop hating, it's enough already. If you're not spreading love, then you're dead already. I miss fat beats on A Street, I miss rock steady. I miss Scholar Rock like I miss my mom and pop. But like everyone who passed, I speak to them a lot. And I'm alright now, smooth as a turnpike. Cause of apathy, hit maker and Searchlight. Adam 2 cakes, I love you, brother.
Can't hate on this. You know, is he, you know, he's showing gratitude, right? And he's reaching back to the old days and talk about how he misses it. I can relate to that. That sounds like he's off the top to me. Look, I'm glad Serch is back with this joint. I think it'd be nice if him and, you know, no pun intended, Pete Nice got together and did something that maybe, you know, reached back and brought back some of the spark that was in their earlier work. I thought they were always a little bit of an awkward duo, to be honest. You know what I mean? Serch really had more of that hip hop feeling about him. You know, and not to say anything bad about Pete Nice, because, you know, his album with Daddy Rich that came out years later was good. I just kind of felt like they always had an awkward chemistry. You know what I mean? And, you know, I don't know what else to say about Serch. Is he top 5 dead or alive? No, of course not. Is his career a little spotty? Is he fell off the fucking face of the earth for decades? Yes. Yet he was inspirational to me when I was a kid, you know, because he showed me that a Jewish kid could get up there and do it, and also in the artistry, communicate to the hip hop community in a way that showed graciousness and a willingness to pay attention to what was around, right? You know, as opposed to just doing rap in a bubble like so many people of that persuasion are guilty of doing. Or coming in like you're the fucking boss and you run the show, when really, at the end of the day, this is black folks music, right? And, you know, I bear witness to a lot of the Hispanic folks, especially Puerto Ricans, especially in New York in the early days. But it started off as black music. And it seems like Serch has always understood that. And he's always expressed, you know, gratitude and appreciation for his place in hip-hop history. So I'm glad he's back. And willfully, he comes back with another project soon. One that he puts more time, energy into and extends the length of it, you know? All right. I'm out of here tonight, guys. I'll talk to y'all before next week. Peace.